Here's the good thing that I want to tell you that in 2020 you can actually combine two IELTS tests together. Hi guys, so today you are here to listen what are the differences in TOEFL or an IELTS if you want to take it in 2020. So if you guys thinking to apply for universities in 2020, not in USA or any other country, that may helpful for you. So let's go through it. And if you are from a country that's your first language is not English, then you should have to take English proficiency test. That could be TOEFL or that could be IELTS. That will eventually give you a chance to apply for higher studies. It could be Australia, it could be New Zealand, it could be America, it could be Canada or any other country that's for the higher study. You may need to do IELTS or TOEFL. So those are the major two types of English exams that are actually available all over the world. So let's see what are the differences and what you prefer. Actually did IELTS, but there's a myth that people think that you cannot actually apply for a USA universities with IELTS, but it's not true. Here is a living proof because I only did IELTS and I'm here. I want to tell you why we have to do it, because if your mother language is not English, so and you want to do higher studies in a European country or America or any other country like that, that their first language is English, that they need to know that you are up to the level that you can study in English and you can do your higher studies in English, because you're going to cooperate with the people, you're going to coordinate with the people and speak with the people, and you're going to live with the people who really speak English. And if you're not the level and you cannot understand what they're talking about or any subject matter, or it's really difficult and it's not even possible, I think. So if that's the case, they have a standard level that this is the minimum requirement to apply for these universities, like that there are requirements for IELTS and TOEFL. So but I have to say that America, this USA, they actually prefer TOEFL than IELTS, but most of the sometimes it's not really clear in their website, so you have to ask from the graduate school whether they can actually accept that both or whether there are preferences. Because there are many universities in the USA that I know, they have a method that it can actually convert your IELTS scores into TOEFL scores. So before diving into that, I need to tell you what is actual IELTS. IELTS or 6.3 you need to have for the IELTS exam if you want to apply for a US universities, or I guess for the most of the universities in the other countries. And TOEFL is an acronym for the English exam for the who speak or for the foreign languages speaking people. And TOEFL again, it's all you can check anywhere in the world. There's so many test centers and around 50 tests per year, so you can just register for any exam in any time during the year and see the availability and whether there's a near to your place, and you can do the TOEFL. And the same thing for the IELTS. 40 countries that actually giving you this IELTS exam, and there are centers all over that 140 countries. So you just have to check is there any exam centers that I can take IELTS near to your place. And if you have the IELTS or TOEFL exam centers, that's mean you're lucky, so you just have to prepare for the exam and go ahead and do it. IELTS always the paper based. Now they are giving you the chance to do the paper based or past. You can, if you are really want to do it like a computer based, if you're good at typing rather than writing. If you look at the TOEFL, if you look at the time period for the listening, it's around 60 to 90 minutes. That's depend on how many conversations that you have to listen. Sometimes you will get 3 or sometimes you will get 4. It's depend on the sometimes you will get 3 or sometimes you will get 4. Depending on that, the time will change. And if you're looking at the reading, again it's going to change from 60 to 80 minutes. Again, there are like 4 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs. That's depending on how many paragraphs you will get. The time will change. And for the writing, it's going to be 50 minutes. If you remember, for the writing in IELTS it's like 60 minutes. Now it's 50 minutes for the TOEFL, and speaking is around 20 minutes. So if you remember, the IELTS it's like 15 minutes. And other thing I want to tell you, but the thing is, if you're doing IELTS, you actually have a person in front of you who's actually asking questions and will give you topic to talk about during the speaking period. But if you're taking that TOEFL, you will have to do it in front of the computer with the speakers and all, and you are not actually talking with the actual person. So depending on how comfortable you are, if you're good at talking in front of a person or in front of a computer, that's you can decide which one you need to take. And if you look at the time lapse, so for the TOEFL it's like 4 hours, so you have 3 or 4 paragraphs to read and 3 or 4 conversation to listen. And the IELTS is kind of similar, but the time is kind of limited, so that's the major differences that you will face. So if you going to take the IELTS, the accent you're familiar with, I don't know which accent you're familiar with. If you're familiar with Australian, Canadian, British, or the New Zealand accent, I don't know which. If you're familiar with Canadian, Australian, or British, or New Zealand accent, that's probably you need to go for the IELTS. But if you are familiar with the languages or the accent, North America, British, New Zealand, Australian, then you need to go for the TOEFL. So I prefer the accent in Australia, Canadian, and New Zealand and British. That's why I went to the IELTS. But again, it's dependent on what you need to. Scoring method for IELTS, it's vary from 0 to 9. So if you're really good with IELTS, your grades should be above 7, 8, 9, and if your grades are below 6, that's mean you have to retake the exam if you want to apply for a university. If you are doing a TOEFL, that scoring system is a little different. It's vary from 0 to 120. If your grades score is above 78, that's 78 is average, that's mean you are good to apply for a university. But again, you need to check with the university asking a score like around 90 or 89 or 68, or you just have to figure it out what is the actual requirement to apply for those universities. So if you are doing the IELTS, it's again you have to check what are their qualifications and requirements. Even you have above 6, if they're asking to IELTS should be 7 or 8, then you cannot actually apply. I mean, you can apply, there's a highly chance they can reject at the first point because it's the minimum requirement they're asking. And the most important thing, I forgot to tell you about the cost. For the IELTS, its cost is around $240 to $215 to $240, and it's going to vary a little bit with the country to country, but that's the range. But if you are doing the TOEFL, that's vary from 165 to 300. Usually it's around 200. Even the last year it's around 200, and if you're taking the USA, it's changed a little bit with the time to time, but that's the range. So if you want to take any exam, this should also consider. So if you guys ask me whether it's a good thing that we can do IELTS first and then do the TOEFL and see what best for you, I would say that's a bad idea, because the way you have to get ready for the IELTS is different from the way you have ready for the TOEFL, because these two exams have two different formats. So if you want to be good at one exam, just focus on one exam, and even you have to retake that exam, that's better to do the same exam again and again, and without changing from one to another, because the format is different. As I told you, the accent that you will listen to is different. This will confuse you, and the arrangement of the paragraphs and the actually requirements and how they actually grade in your papers has a little bit differences. So I guess it's best you can, if you actually focus on one exam, and even you have to retake that, it's better to be prepared with one exam and do it again. That's my advice, but you can try and see, and it's no problem how many times you are taking your TOEFL or IELTS exam. You just have to send the best scores you have to the university. Here's the good thing that I want to tell you, that in 2020 you can actually combine two IELTS tests together. For example, if you have done two IELTS exam within 6 months apart, so then you can actually combine those two exams, but the recommend is you should have scores above 6.5 for each category. Then you can combine. For example, if you have a 7 for reading in one section and 7 for listening in one section, then you can combine them together and get the score like that. That's a good thing. That's a new change with the IELTS. Make that much easier for you, but the thing is, you need to have above 6.5 for each and every section, and they should now only 2 tests can actually combine things together. So I hope this may helpful for you. See you in the next video.